This podcast contains spoilers, so listen at your own risk or call back after you've watched the movie.
You know who you call. Leave a message. Maybe they'll call you back. Then again, maybe they won't.
We're having ourselves quite a little game of phone tag here.
Ring, ring, ring. I usually get this guy's answering machine.
I'll call you right back.
If you're there, please pick up the phone. I really want to talk to you.
I check my fucking messages every day when I come home from work. My answering machine, zero. I got a blinking light.
All I have to do is pick up this phone right here, inform the cinema, and your plan's kaput.
No, I ain't got no phone. I had to pull, because people calling all the time, and who needs the aggravation, right? Interruptions.
Hey man, just my lunch break now. I'm in the office today. I'm just heading into town to get a couple of bits and bobs. Taking advantage of the fact I'm in the centre. Wanted to squeeze in a quick voice note to you about a film I watched the other night called This Magnificent Cake. It is a stop-motion animated film which is made using sort of felt models as opposed to silicone or plasticine, the usual stop-motion equipment. I've seen quite a lot of felt stop motion or animation in general, usually in short form, often very short, like I'm talking Instagram post short. But also I've seen the people who made This Magnificent Cake, they went on to make another film for Netflix. I believe it was called This House. I can't quite remember the title of it, but it was them and two other animators. Everyone made a third of the film. And yeah, the felt aesthetic I really love. Actually, I'm a huge fan of the Trolls movies, which are computer animated, but they simulate felt, just like the Lego movies are computer animated, but they simulate real Lego with like the scratches on the plastic and stuff like that. So this, first drops are just coming down now. Really hoping I get absolutely soaked and try and duck into a shop as soon as possible. Yeah, the aesthetic of felt is, I love it. I've always loved it. Forget about animation, just just little felt baubles and toys and stuff like that. I love that. And I think it works really well in this film, which is about Belgian colonialism in Congo, or at least that was my interpretation of London. I'm not actually sure if it really is Congo or if it's just supposed to be an unnamed African country. But I know that the Belgian conquest of Congo was one of the most vicious pieces of African colonialism, and the Belgians are often held, even by the yardstick of colonialism, in very poor regard. So this film is it actually really reminded me of the work of Ruben Östlund, who does a lot of films that are like very aggressively satirical, very, very vitriolic in their appraisal of power hierarchies and the upper class and stuff, but at the same time are very absurd and funny. And I think the felt toy aesthetic really lends itself to that kind of like, okay, we're going to be very incisive, we're going to be very critical, but we're also going to keep this very palatable and surreal. And yeah, it reminded me of that a lot. It reminded me of Roy Anderson's work as well, Songs from the Second Floor and stuff like that, where it's like individual little vignettes that don't really need to serve some massive big feature length cohesion necessarily, although the film is very cohesive. But really any bit of this film succeeds even if it just gives you this sort of funny, affecting little moment, and gives you kind of pause to think about that specific scenario and those specific characters. Of course, it is all leading towards a grander tapestry, but I think it's a nice often when I watch animated films that are essentially a sequence of shorts, because a lot of animated films are a series of shorts, I often come away feeling like, well, I just watched a whole bunch of short films. I could have just watched one short film. I could have watched twice as many short films, but I didn't. Just because I watched those 8 short films in a row, I don't feel like I watched a movie. And that's often because they're made by different people, or they're a collection of previously released short films that are now being collated together. But they don't feel like they add up to a single piece of work. And in the case of this one, I really felt that it worked very nicely. And I do like when I feel, like, let's say, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, for example, or Coffee and Cigarettes, which was actually, some of those were made over time. I do like when a film is a series of vignettes, but you come away and you go, yep, that makes sense as a movie. That felt like a movie. And this did for me. I guess it helps that there are pieces of continuity from film to film. I liked the sort of back and forth between realism and surreality, like the whole when the guy who has sort of like abandoned his family, stolen all their money, runs off and kind of gets stranded without his slaves in the middle of the jungle. He starts chiseling away at a rock, and then pretty soon after that, I mean, I think it cuts directly to he's now got himself into a giant big mansion. And I liked that the film, and again, the toy or the model felt thing helps this, I think. But I like that the film sort of manages to straddle that line between something quite real and something that means a lot to people, and the just sort of playful, surreal, hard to interpret kind of artier side of the film. Like, I suppose there's probably an intended reading of some of the more surreal, arty elements of the film that I didn't get. Like, it's probably all making one big specific statement. But for me, I found like the whole film so playful, even when it's not the surreal bits, like so kind of silly and quirky and like, yeah, just darkly humorous. But when it went into crazier stuff, like when he's making friends with that snail, for example, I just accepted that quite readily. Like, when you first see the snail's face, that's just like a big laugh moment. And there's a lot of like really funny stuff throughout the film. Also reminded me a little bit here and there of Todd Simon's work. He's done some bit pieces on Class as well, and he's definitely very happy to give you a laugh, even when he's dealing with incredibly dark subject matters. Now I've got to the pillow section in Primark, and I know that there's a specific pillow that I'm supposed to buy, a special type of pillow, but I can't remember what it is, so I'm gonna have to look that up on my phone, and then I'll try and send another voice note in a second. Okay, then I have that pillow. Second time I've come in here looking for that pillow, and I haven't had it. I don't feel they're ever going to get it back again. Some memory foam pillow that's supposed to be amazing that my wife wants, but anyway. So yeah, back to the movie. I loved the like just how dark the comedy is, like the bit where he's going across the bridge and he throws his banana peel over his shoulder and they all slip through, and he's like, you gotta watch where you're going. And obviously just completely upset that all of his luggage has gone down, and the one guy manages to get up and survive, has that clarinet guy scare him to death. Or even like the scene where the king is watching the clarinet play, and he wants the clarinet to not be part of the piece. So he tells his assistant guy, and I don't know, I just feel like there's a much bigger and less funny way of showing that scene where they kill the clarinet player, or the guy gets up and like screams at the clarinet player, but it's done in such a subtle, realistic way where he like guy leans into him and he's like, "Oh, the king kindly requests that refrain from playing the clarinet." And the guy just has to stand there with this really like confused look on his face, and like not really sure. It's like really awkward. He has to stand there, and the whole classic piece, which is literally just like a call and response piece between the two instruments, plays out with all these gaps in it. The animation's amazing, actually. Like it's amazing, but in such limited faces, with the right amount of blinking and just the exact facial expressions that they managed to convey so much emotion and so much personality across the various characters in the film. I thought that was really impressive. And I guess it's that classic, like old-fashioned colonial thing where they've sort of made this land of the Congo. Oh, my phone's actually up now, so it's going to be broken messages from here on out. Yeah, they've managed to make, they've really captured that old-fashioned thing of like the new world and the tropical magic land where you can run away to from all of your problems, and it's all adventurous and exploring that, and then kind of having this back and forth between that is kind of really the case, right? Like it is beautiful and it is mysterious and it is adventurous doing their stuff, but then you don't actually run away from all your problems because so many of your problems are internal and so many of your problems are societal. And if the society, the same people are moving there, the same like little brat kid who's like messing with the grand piano and knocking it over a balcony, and the same self-serving uncle character, they're all just going to go and bring their all of their problems to this land. So I liked that kind of back and forth between the magical and exotic, and then the like pretty, I don't know, like cursed populace that's being transposed to that environment. Just ducked into little now. I need salt. It's rare that you run out of salt, but we have run out of salt, as I learned this morning when I was making pasta to bring to work. So yeah, what else to say about it? I think it's, you know, it's a very short film. I think it's about 45 minutes or so, and kind of perfect length, really, for what it's trying to do. I think when a film is 45 minutes, people kind of regard that as like, so short that is it even the film, right? Like, can that even be considered a film? Or did you really get a film when you watched that? Or did you just get some of a film and they just didn't follow through and fulfill the full runtime requirements of the film? I really feel differently about that. I think watching this film at 45 minutes is just like, you could point to this as a perfect example of how free people should be to make films shorter than they're making them. Now, of course, here it's because it's incredibly time-consuming, expensive to make a film like this. So they're less choosing to make it this short than they kind of have to, in a way. But I think if I did a month, instead of watching animated films for a month, I did a month of watching live action film, probably 2/3 of them at least would be longer than they should be. Doesn't mean that they should be 45 minutes, but probably many of the films that we watch should be 45 minutes. So I like the runtime. And I think some people give like backhanded compliment of like, I'm glad it was only 45 minutes because I don't think it could have sustained any longer. So yeah, well, that films aren't supposed to sustain more than they need to. But yeah, I have no complaints about this film. I thought it was really beautiful. I enjoyed this. I liked the film This House, if it's called that, a bit less, but I liked that as well. So I'd like to see these people who've made this film get a shot at another film on their own. And yeah, really, really pleasant surprise. Really great piece of biting satire, but also like very light and playful as well. So hopefully it's one that you enjoyed as well. Let me know what your thoughts on it were. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it.
Hey man, there's a sketch of this YouTuber who has a talk show, and I think his name is Dave Rubin or something like that. And there's a thing called Freedom Tunes that kind of mock all these YouTubers. And there's one sketch where you just have that guy saying, "I agree, I agree, I agree," and listening to your voice note combined with my own thoughts and just listening to everything you said, I really don't have a lot to add in the slightest, and it would probably be about 10 minutes of me saying I agree if I was to respond to everything you said. But I have responded to say that I have heard what you said and I like what you said and I agree. And also, I don't know how widely seen this movie is, but it would be nice to get your thoughts up if anyone ever does listen to it, for sure. Yeah, I didn't know what felt was. I had seen it before. I didn't know what the conception is in the way you do, the difference between claymation and felt and all these different things. I don't know anything about that, but I was mesmerized by this type of art work, or wherever it's the best way to describe it. I'm not sure if Postman Pat and things like that were felt, but maybe not. But it did remind me of that type of thing. Maybe Just the Cat was felt. It reminded me of things I've seen in the past as a kid anyway, and it's been a long time. And we had a conversation the other day about the peasants, where if the art or the animation was a plus or a negative, or if it's the barrier in making people be able to watch something. And I said, well, I don't know if it's any animation that would make me want to watch something. And I can now say that felt is the one animation that would make me watch it. And God bless the algorithm, because a lot of felt animations have come up on my YouTube now, and I'm almost compelled to check them. They're mostly shorts, which is the right length as well, to be fair, I think. And even though this is an anthology of stories, I guess is the best way to say it, about Belgium and Congo, like you said, that is correct. And yeah, it's just beautiful to look at, isn't it? I really like the expression that two buttons on eyes can convey a lot of things without being the most all-rounded way of conveying emotion. Is surprisingly insightful, and you can surprisingly read into what characters are thinking with such a limited discussion of a range of emotion. And this might sound strange to say as well, but their mouth holes also add to that as well, or even the way they blink. Like there's a scene early on where that tribesman who got that job in the hotel, and he sees the dog getting thrown out the window by that stupid kid, and he nurses the the dog back, and a few minutes later he is basically the victim of the same type of negligence that kid is just left to do, which is a fucked up scene. And yeah, they just convey a lot of that story through the faces, which is quite extraordinary if you think about it. And I also really love the other type of technical aspects they do it, where they convey water. I think it's somebody pulling not exactly a rug, but a blanket in order to use that effect. So I really like that sleight of hand as well, if you want to call it that. I don't know. And yeah, it's basically, other than that, I agree with a lot of things that you say. And there is that weird line between surreal absurdism, like that scene where the guy is talking to that snail that just has a face, and talking to the slaves that he has on that bridge, and just the way that plays out. And then one of the slaves survives, and we just see him talking to a head that's tragic but almost gallows level of funny as well. It's just it's a weird line where it's not exactly funny and not exactly tragic, but at the same time it's completely both. And to top that off, the clarinet guy shows up, plays his clarinet, and ends up killing the last surviving guy, who falls on his head and smashes it. So it's almost like even here his music's not appreciated. And yeah, I really like that scene with the king as well, where that's just some weird, it's almost like something in Curb Your Enthusiasm or something like The Office type humor, where, like you said, there's a lot of places where that scene could have took place. Extremely could have been escorted away by the guards even, but no, a duet is cancelled by the king politely asking him to stop playing, and then he just has to stand there. And again, this is where the emotion can be seen and felt for whatever reason, and he just has to stand there. That's a very funny scene. And yeah, I was thinking a lot of the artistry while watching this as well. The way with animation, you have to create everything from scratch. You have to create the sound, you have to create the movement, you have to create the framing in order to create something that isn't there. I mean, in this case, they are moving physical things, so it is there, but in the way in which you have to basically clock every idea from your mind. I know that's a staple of animation in general, but for some reason about the felt and the way this movie was conceptualized, and it's brilliant camera angles at times, that it was more on display, and I don't mean that in a negative way. So yeah, liked it. Decent movie.
Yeah, you've hit it on the head there. One of my absolute favorite things about animation is that it all has to be made. And if you look at Studio Ghibli movies, for example, that, like, just seeing that every blade of grass, every, someone's left a bucket and spade out at the sort of side of their house that's, been neglected for years. And when the person's tying their shoelaces, they, kind of graze it and it sort of revolves slightly to the side. And it's just all these tiny little details and props. And that every single aspect of the world, every poster on every wall, every bit of chipped paint on a windowsill, or, the fact that there is this amount of clouds going by, whatever, it's all so intentional. as opposed to live action where there's a certain amount of just like, well, that was there. We didn't even notice it until like the movie was 5 years old. Oh yeah, there is a police car far into the background in that particular scene, or whatever. And it's not just a matter of fact thing of like, you know, it's all intentional, but who cares? It means that they're creating a, you know, to use the classic film studies phrase, the mise en scène of the movie is so, because it's built from the ground up, in this case, literally like physically built because it's stop motion, it almost always leads to greater harmony, greater visual harmony and compositional harmony on screen because they're, you know, they're making everything. And then there's the craftsmanship of it that you can kind of imagine them. You know, you watch one of those Wes Anderson stop motion movies and every little magazine that they're reading and stuff, you're just imagining them making it. So yeah, love all that stuff. I'm glad you like the movie. I thought you would like it because, as I said, Ruben Östlund, is it Ruben Östlund? Is that his name? He came to mind very strongly, and I think you're a big fan of his work, if I remember correctly. And just this like really dark satirical look at kind of wealth inequality in societies and stuff like that. So yeah, good little flick. And yeah, I guess there isn't a huge amount to say about it. It's kind of all there up on the screen, but yeah, really nice one.
Your mailbox is full. Please delete new or stored messages which you no longer need so that new messages may be received.